Hi guys. A few people were asking me how to perform certain text effects for the new title assignment that we handed out there just before the college closed for COVID-19. So I said I'd put this tutorial just to show you how it's done. Now, specifically what they were asking was how to make text appear on the screen in anything other than one block of text just appearing. They wanted it like letter by letter or to fly in or something like that. And there's a couple of ways of doing that. The simplest one is to use a mask. And the other one, it's not difficult, but it's a bit more labor intensive because you're editing letter by letter. But we'll do the first one, and we'll do one just to let you see how the mask works. So I'm going to come down here to my timeline, and I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call that layer text. There we go. It's selected there, and I'm going to go over to the text icon in the tool palette. I'm going to drag out a box and paste in some text. So you can see it there. It's very straightforward, making text appear letter by letter. Okay, so there it is. Now, the mask for this is actually very straightforward. We make another layer back down to the timeline. I'm going to call this one mask. And then for the mask, what we do is we're going to select the rectangular tool, and we're going to drag a box over the text. Now, it doesn't matter what color the box is, it'll be invisible eventually. So when I click on the selection tool there, you see I can move this. There it is. Okay, so that's going to be our mask. Now, in order for that to reveal letter by letter, we need to do a couple of things. We haven't made it a mask yet, we've just called it a mask, but we also need to make it a motion tween. So I'm going to right click on the frames there and go create motion tween. You see it's turned yellow, so that's cool. I'm going to click on the last frame because we want this to slide in and reveal the text as it does so. So the last frame we want it to be exactly where it is. So by pressing F6, I'm setting a keyframe there. You can see it's just appeared on the 100th frame. So I'm going to go back to frame 1. I'm going to press Shift and left click and drag that box till it clears the text. Okay, so you can see now if I scrub that timeline, you'll see it actually does slide in. Now at the moment it's not technically a mask. If I click Control and Enter to test this, you'll see that what it's doing is it's obscuring the text. At the moment it's only a white box. Ignore the earth there, that's another tutorial. Okay, so what I do is I come back down and I right click where it says mask and I choose mask from the menu. And you'll see both the text and the box have disappeared. And the reason is that the way the mask works is the mask is invisible and it only reveals what's directly underneath it. So when it was a white box, it was obscuring what was underneath it as it traveled across. But as a mask, it reveals. So let's hit Control and Enter again and test it and see. There you go, making text appear letter by letter. Okay, so the speed with which you do that will be dependent on the amount of frames you use. Now I used 100 frames, so it takes about 4 seconds at 25 frames a second, but that's entirely up to you. Right, so that's straightforward enough. That's the first method, by using a mask. Okay, so I'm going to go back in, I'm going to delete that mask, delete the layer, and I'm going to free up the text. So now we have our text back again. So the second way to do this is it takes a bit longer, but it gives you more control. So what we do the second time is we're going to click on the actual text box and we're going to choose break apart. Now what break apart does is it takes the text box and individually assigns each one of the letters its own individual control, which means we can take those and do whatever we want with them. But at the moment they are all on the same layer, which means that we'd find it difficult to animate them all separately. So what we do is we click in again, and this time we choose distribute to layers. Now look what happens. It gives us a layer for each letter. You can see starting down here MAKINGTEXT. So it's just spelled out the entire sentence in letters all on their own. Okay, so there they are. Now, so what we're going to do is we'll have to zoom out to show you this, but just keep an eye on it. Okay, so we come all the way down here and to the M, and you see it's selected up there on the stage. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag, we click and release, and then click it again. We're going to drag that in to about frame 15. And then we're going to do the same thing with the A. We're going to click and release and drag that into 16, and click and release. I'm just choosing 15, 16, 17, just to give us some space. So again, to move a keyframe, you click and release, and then you select and drag. So click, release, select, drag. Now I got that one out by 1. Okay, I won't do too many of these. I just want to show you basically how it works. So all I'm really doing is I'm moving each keyframe one further down the timeline than the previous one, thereby making it look like you see up there at the top. We'll zoom in. making it look like it's appearing slowly. All that's really happening is the letters are appearing frame by frame. Now, that is happening quite quickly because there's about 25 frames per second. I've got 30 frames per second actually, which means that 30 of those are going to appear every second. But all you'd need to do to make them appear more slowly is to stage them out like so. So if I stagger them, if I take that one and move it 5 back, and then take that one and move that 5 back, or thereabouts, and take that one the same, and you could count these in if you wished. So the further you leave them apart, the slower they're going to appear. And we'll just do the last two just for the sake of the effect. There we go. Now you see. Much slower. Okay, but what that does is essentially the same as the mask. It just makes them appear. Because they are on their own individual layers, we can also turn them into motion twins. And this is where it gets a lot more controllable, because you can do whatever you want. You can make them spin, you can make them fade, you can do whatever you want. So if I come on down here to the M, I right click anywhere in the M timeline and go create motion twin. And at the moment, it's yellow, so you can see that worked. I'm going to click on the last frame again. I'm going to press F6. And that means that the last frame of that motion twin is exactly where it is at the moment. It's going to stay there. But I click on the first frame, and I drag it off the stage. There you go. And you can see that there. So that will fly in and get to the end at 100. Now I can do exactly the same thing with the A. I right click, create motion twin. I click on the last frame and press F6. I click on the first frame, and I drag off the screen. I'll do one more, do it with the K, create motion twin, click on the last frame, F6, click on the first frame, drag off the screen, and drag off the screen. Okay, there we go, we'll go down all the way over here. Okay, so you'll see now as I drag along, you'll see there's the M, the A, and the K, and they're all making their way into position. Okay, now in the same way that they're ending up in a straight line, I could have them starting off as a sentence and then exploding, if that's the sort of effect you wanted. You could have them being different colors, you can have them spinning. So for example, if I wanted, let's say, them to spin in, all I have to do is click on, let's say, the first frame for the M, yeah, there it is, and I go modify, transform, rotate, and I can spin that like so. And I could click on the first frame for the A, and I can go modify, transform, rotate, and I can spin that one. And just for the hell of it, we'll also do the K as well, and we go modify, transform, rotate, and do that. I can also make them larger sizes. I can do whatever I want. So now you'll see as they're coming together, there you go, they're all, and they'll always end up, because we chose our last keyframe as the frame where it was in the sentence, they'll always come back perfectly. The same way you'd let them the sentence be the very first keyframe if you wanted them to explode off stage or something like that. And if they're supposed to be, let's say, for example, coming towards you, so if I was to choose, let's say, the A, which is that one there, and I go modify, transform, scale, I can then make the A really, really large, right? Actually, I'll do the same thing with the M. I'll choose the M, and I go we go the first frame. So we go modify, transform, scale. Okay, so you can see the way I can have them, if I want to, starting really, really large and going in. But at the same time, if I was to scrub backwards, if we were to start like that and have them explode, we can have them going towards camera like so. Now what we could also do is we could have them change color, we could have them become more blurred as they go further away or something like that. We can do whatever we want, but we have a lot of control with that. Okay, so there's the two ways of doing that. The first is the mask, and the second is to break them apart and then distribute them to individual layers, both of which will work very well, but they require different amounts of patience and control. So there you go.